Hello friends! Talking about the alternative world we are looking for was inspired by a tweet. In reality, the world upside down is what we already have now, and what we are looking for is to put it right. Opinion article. The world upside down. The kingdom of the upside down is another alternative world. The world will be turned upside down when they wake up. Sidney Powell continues to publish devastating data. Spain is already being talked about in all this scandal. The Spanish company Indra has proposed 600 redundancies. They are about to dismantle a multinational organization. Machine managers acknowledge that they can change votes. On Monday, a large secret military operation began with 1,000 planes. The Watergate case will remain a mere anecdote next to this one. Let's start. The whole world is about to be turned upside down, without exception, says a tweet from the Great Awakening, signed by Looking Glass 1776. The US elections were always the key element of the great plan for awakening. When the propaganda machine disappears from the swamp, people will wake up in mass, and the world will be turned upside down, although it's already upside down, and what we want now is to put it right. The evidence has always been very blatant and harmful, but cleverly hidden from the mass population. Be patient and trust the plan. Everything is going to snowball from here. I've said before that none of us know what goes on behind the scenes. This changes in a moment. There are many twists and turns at this point, and the turn can be very confusing. Much of the information available is designed to be confusing, to keep you in the dark on purpose. There are some news items that are published everywhere that are designed to annoy you, create to keep you upset. The time when the governments or individuals tell people what they can do and cannot do, or what they can have to do or not have, or to do, not have, or not have to think, it's over forever. Everything. Power will be returned to the people under the common law, the law of our primordial Creator. Trust the plan. The kingdom of the upside down. As an old song says, let's see how the kingdom is upside down. I was told that in the back of a front kingdom no one dances with his feet, that one thief is a watchman, and another is a judge, and that two are three. They told me that in the back of the front kingdom a bear fits in a nut, that babies use beards and mustaches, and that a year lasts a month. I was told that in a back to front kingdom there is a Pekingese dog that falls upwards, and once it could not come down afterwards. I was told that in the back of the front kingdom a man named Andres has 1,530 chimpanzees, that if you look you don't see them. I was told that in the back of the front kingdom a spider and a centipede ride to the Marquis Palace on chess horses. That's the song. According to Stranger Things, the world of the backwards is an alternative reality or dimension that exists in parallel with the human world. It contains the same places and infrastructure as the human world, but is much darker and colder. According to the film Doctor Strange, the mirror dimension is a parallel dimension within the multiverse that allows the user to practice his magic skills and fight his enemies without the knowledge of the audience. Every night we travel to the mirror dimension when we dream a parallel world in which the disembodied dwell, which is a copy of the material world but slightly different. Whether that world is upside down or not, time is a malleable or non-existent resource. It's also a space and matter that can be modified, and the whim of the wizard because there are an infinite number of dimensions that they can access by generating portals. The black wizards of the Illuminoids can fold things up and distort space. Those who use the power of the dark dimension have greater control over the mirror dimension, to the extent that they can fold and distort space in reality. The worst thing is that they use this magical power against our interests and in favor of theirs. The truth prevails. The truth is like cream. No matter how much you push it down, it will always come back up to the top, just like pop always floats. We did not volunteer for this war. We landed on this not just by chance. It was fate that had put us on this journey. Now destiny is something that follows its own course and its own timetable. From what has already transpired, which is incredible, it is clearly evident that a very precise and detailed plan has been developed and is being followed to the end. Imagine that the results had even been announced 2 years earlier. That's what I call precision. Something deep inside me tells me that to deliver those results with such precision, I would have required and enjoyed divine support. Therefore, be patient. There is still too much to be done. Sit back and enjoy the show. Cleaning operation. The president is about to dismantle a complex multinational organization. We already know who the globalists are and what they want. That single supranational government that controls everything: politics, economy, the laws of our country, and thus our lives in general. It's easy to control a country if you control the money it needs. It's easy to stop a country from creating more industry if you force it to follow the Paris agreements or carbon emissions. It's not difficult to subdue a country if you overwhelm with a massive immigration and criticize if it does not admit it. Basically, they are already control many countries with these methods, and now they are trying to take another step towards their pretensions. They want the Great Restoration because they say it will be better for everyone. But is that true? I don't think so. In a major financial restoration, if any major financial restoration requires you to relinquish ownership or requires inoculations, this is not NISRA. NISRA will be free and open for anyone to participate or not. It doesn't require registration or waiver of rights, and 100% will not require any injection if followed up. Furthermore, the true reset will be backed by gold, and the false reset will not be so. Military operation. A cover-up is the current military operation that Sidney Powell called Freeing the Kraken, to expose, arrest, and prosecute the bad guys. These operations began last weekend after servers were recovered from Frankfurt last week, according to Robert David Steele. He said that this information coincides with key works, and that these military operations included almost 1,000 military aircraft flying since Monday, 16 November. They are making an airborne operation, secretly arresting swamp operatives who are involved in ballot fraud operations, and the bad guys have pushed for confinements to fight against currency restructuring and the liberation of humanity. Devastating data. Sidney Powell continues to give devastating data. She has the testimony of a military man of the Maduro regime on how electoral fraud is encouraged, and she is already talking about Spain. Sidney Powell clarifies in an interview with the Newsmax channel that a high military command of Chavez has told her that these voting machines were created to steal elections, and that they have been exported through America, so that Americas in plural, so that the current leaders of many countries would be illegitimate. According to the affidavit of a senior military officer, affidavit or charge, the voting machines were specifically designed so that the system could change every voter's vote without being detected. The statement in the possession of former federal prosecutor Sidney Powell is part of the evidence his legal team is gathering against the foreign interference in the US elections. But it goes even further by ensuring that they also have tests of that company's servers installed in Frankfurt and Barcelona. And this is where the big deal begins to come in, because we are already starting to talk about Spain in this whole scandal, and we were already surprised that it was not done with a sister regime to Chavism in government, like the one we have. Testimonials. The founders of the voting machines used in 28 states has publicly admitted that he could change millions of votes and that there is no problem at all. We have a witness who was in the creation of the system used to change the election results, Powell said. In addition, a witness described how poll workers were ordered to inflate the vote of the Democratic candidate. In a video testimony, Detroit worker Melissa Carone, Italian, who was employed as a contractor to monitor the ballot counting machines, says the witnessed election workers at the center repeatedly processing the same batches on 50 ballots through the counters up to 8, 9, and 10 times. He also said that while he was not allowed to touch the ballot or stand directly on the machines, he said only she only saw the marked ballots during her entire 24-hour shift, and not a single one for the president. She also testified that there was no legitimate legal oversight of the voting process, that the Democrats were essentially watching the Democrats themselves because they did not trust each other. She also says that she saw election workers duplicate ballots as they changed the votes of the other, stealing the results on site. Carone also said he reported his finding through a three-letter federal agency, but at this point there is no indication that either the agency or the Justice Department did anything to investigate. and this is suspicious in my opinion. We have testimony from sworn witnesses as to why the software was designed. It was designed to manipulate elections. I was fully informed about it. She saw what was happening in other countries. It was exported internationally for profit. They did this on purpose. Powell added, it was calculated and they've done it before. They have evidence of 2016 in California. We have so much evidence that I feel it's coming through a fire hose. We are preparing to overturn the election results in several states, and the president won not only by hundreds of thousands of votes, but by millions of votes that were displaced by this software that was designed expressly for that purpose, Powell said on Sunday. 2 weeks. Former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon predicted that the globalist structure that is trying to steal the presidential election will be defeated in 2 weeks' time, as evidence of electoral cheating continues to arrive. They don't want me to close down and claim their victory. We are 14 days away from the defeat of the globalists, Bannon predicted. You see how they operate. They don't have a debate, they don't have a discussion. They just want to lock you up, and it's not going to happen. Optimism from Lin Wood, the president's lawyer. They are going to jail. That's how strongly Lin Wood, the president's lawyer, expressed himself in a statement to the Howie Carr Show, a radio talk show hosted by journalist Howie Carr. The president's lawyer said he had irrefutable and conclusive evidence. He said that members of the world's elite will be dropping like flies, and added that they will all defending their bones in prison. The Watergate case is going to remain a mere anecdote alongside what President's legal team claims to have in its hands. In their hands, I mean. The President's legal advisor explained to the journalist that they have evidence that the Democrats have tried to steal the elections and have been committing crimes for years, and that they are all going to end up in prison. Wood added that even those who did not vote for the president will be convinced on their own that there has been massive fraud as soon as it is exposed. When all is said and done, I'm sure he will be president for 4 more years. I'm sure too. Brief news. Wisconsin partial recount. The campaign team working for the president's re-election said Wednesday it wanted a partial recount on the Wisconsin presidential election results as part of its attempt to reverse the Democratic candidate's victory. Despite staying out of the public eye, the incumbent president has insisted on venting his anger on Twitter, where he made claims of voter fraud. Michigan state senators request election audit to recount. The 300,000 votes that suddenly entered Michigan are false because the county does not have the means to process that many votes in such a short time. Republican senators in the Michigan State Senate have requested an audit and recount on November 3rd election. The letter states that the complaints that have been filed should not be ignored, and that the work done by the software system which has been used in the election recount should be investigated, obviously. Powell's to turn election around faces Pennsylvania court. The president will take his efforts to overturn the Democratic candidate's victory in Pennsylvania court on Tuesday. District Judge Matthew Brandt, based in Williamsport, will hear arguments in a lawsuit filed by the Republican campaign on November 9th. Georgia nears completion of election audit. Wisconsin recount requested. Officials in Georgia said a presidential election audit was on track to be completed Wednesday, as the president sought new challenges in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. The U.S. has staged a coup d'etat against itself, and the consequences will be dire, says the Kaiser report. With the exception of the current president, the last 6 presidents have been involved in armed conflicts in other countries. As the arrival of this president in the White House was a real setback for the war machine. We had an attempted coup d'etat by the Democratic Party, which tried to discredit his victory in the elections. Indra proposes 600 layoffs. Indra Soluciones Tecnológicas de la Información has presented this Wednesday a last proposal from an employment file, which includes 360 contract extensions and more than 220 early retirements, among other measures, compared to the 1,036 layoffs initially proposed, according to union sources. And that's all for today. Thank you very much for your patience.